My name's Andrew Misell. I'm a member of Cardiff Local Meeting, and I'm also one of the directors of the charity Alcohol Change UK, although I am today speaking very much in a personal capacity. I will say I'm nervous today. I'm more nervous than I expected to be, because I speak in public quite a lot. I speak at quite a lot of events. But I think for me, as a Quaker, speaking at a Quaker event, it feels different, because normally when I go to a conference to speak, I know that people want me to be impressive. They want me to have good slides, maybe some jokes, perhaps some memes off the internet within the slides, to put on a good performance. But I know, or I think I know, that what a Quaker audience wants from me is the truth, at least the truth as I see it. So I am going to try today not so much to be impressive, but to be true. And I know that I was invited to speak at this event today by Alison, the director of Quaker Action on Alcohol and Drugs, because I'm constantly telling her that Quad is the one place where my Quakerism and my professional activity as a substance misuse worker come together, because obviously my Quaker faith is part of my life every day, but like most Quakers, I don't tend to bang on about it to my colleagues. I don't tend to talk about it at work. Now, one thing I would say to start is that I'm very aware that faith is not always a positive thing in people's lives when they are struggling with substance use or addiction, or however we want to describe it. And we know that from research that we commissioned. And I just cite one recent example. When I was visiting a place near where I live that provides food and company for street drinkers and other people, and someone came along, nice fella, very well intended, keen to tell the drinkers that Jesus loves them. And I did have to tell him quite firmly, but quite politely, that that is not how we share our faith around here. We're not seeking recruits for our way of thinking. We are trying to provide a service. And it's that faith as service that I really want to talk about. Now, I should also say, in terms of faith, that I'm coming at this very much from the direction of the Judeo-Christian tradition. Now, I know that's not a tradition all Quakers share. I know it's a tradition that comes with a lot of baggage for a lot of people, and I don't pretend that it's the only answer. I've looked at lots of the other answers, and some of them look they look great as well. But this is where I'm coming from, and that may be a weakness in me, but it's the only way I know to look at things clearly. And I'll start, I think, at the very start of that Jewish tradition, where we read that man is made, people rather, are made in the image of God. Now, I would struggle to explain what that means in reality, but what it means for me is that everyone is important, everyone is valuable, everyone is valid. And that is a message that, from my reading, runs through the Greek and the Hebrew scriptures from the beginning to the end. And particularly, I find that people who are on the outside, people who are too small, people who are pushed aside because they're women, because they have some illness, especially if they're a woman who's got an illness, because they're from the wrong ethnic group, they're too young, they're too old. These are the people throughout the Greek and Hebrew scriptures who are often the heroes, and they're the ones who speak the truth. And that has meant a lot to me. And I think growing out of that recognition that everyone is important, everyone is valid, the thing that I realized, and have realized probably much later in life than I should have done, is that it's not all about me. Life is not about me. And what faith gives me is a point of reference outside myself. And for me, it is about, to be biblical again, it is about walking humbly with your God. It is about not passing by on the other side. It's about washing feet and doing it for the least of these, not judging and not being judged. Now, I try to apply this humility in my encounters with individuals, with alcohol problems, and indeed with anyone else. And I will say that it's selfishness is always a temptation, and I would add that even organisationally in the sector that I work in, the charitable sector, there is sometimes a temptation to put our own growth, our own interests, our own seizure of influence ahead of other things. And Pope Francis has quite rightly warned us against seeking to possess spaces, and has said that as people of faith working in the world, all we can do, all we should do, is seek to initiate processes for which some others may take the credit, may complete, and that is just fine. I would also say, and I think this is probably one of the central themes around faith and substance misuse or addiction, is that faith is not about curing, faith is about healing. And there's a difference, I think, between those things. That person who I mentioned earlier, who was keen to tell the street drinkers around our way that Jesus loved them, I think he maybe, I might be misjudging him, he maybe thought he had a cure for them, that they could take something on board that would sort them out. Now, I know some of those people, and I don't think there's any instant cure for what's happening in their lives. And I'll quote now from the late Rachel Held Evans, who's an American author who grew up in the evangelical tradition, but wrote quite critically about it afterwards. And in her book, Searching for Sunday, she talks about what she means by healing. And she says that the thing about healing, as opposed to curing, is that it's relational. It's about our relationships with each other. It takes time, it's inefficient. Rarely does healing follow a straight or well-lit path. Rarely does it conform to our expectations or resolve in a timely manner. And she says that the most important question that we can ever ask someone in pain is, may I sit with you? So that, in summary, is my perspective on faith and substance use issues. I will be the first to admit that I work in the field. I'm able to walk away from it. I don't have those experiences that people have who live day in, day out with someone who is misusing a substance, is struggling with addiction, or however we might wish to describe it. So perhaps it's easy for me to be high-minded about it. But these are my initial thoughts on the topic, and I'm sure that others will have other thoughts.